to you, email it over to you at the end here, so you can obviously have that to review, and then obviously show anybody else you need to as well. So I went ahead and started that recording, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen now. All right. And just confirm with me real quick, Cynthia, you can see that fine? All right. Well, perfect. Yeah. So this is the main page, the home page. So we'll go ahead and just get right into it. So this is the NAT platform, and you log into it. The homepage here for Title Tech will obviously be going in and starting a new deal. But I just like to show on the homepage here, the different resources we have available right away with the help desk number, help desk email, as well as a training catalog and common questions tab. So always have the resources there for, any help or any questions to get answered as soon as possible for you. But obviously, like I mentioned, we'll be going ahead and just starting a new deal. So this is the page when you first log into it. And when you do click on new deal, it's going to pull up the map of the country here. So this is really all the prerequisite information to put in, just that will really align the deal with wherever the customer is. So obviously the most important thing being the state. And then we'll select our purchase type and really just the baseline things for the deal here. But first and foremost, it's just going to be the state of the customer. So I know, and just confirm with me here if anything's wrong, Cynthia, but I know you're obviously using Automate, right, for the DMS system there, you guys. You're using obviously part of the same umbrella here with Solera. So, we would integrate with them for free for you guys. But just doing some background, some housework here, making sure I have my notes here right. I know you use Automate, and I know you said you do quite a lot of out of state. I want to, you'd said about 15 to 20 per week there. Just want to confirm that that was accurate. Doing upwards about like maybe 60 a month, I'm assuming. Okay. Perfect. So obviously you're seeing a lot of states. Obviously, I know off the bat probably, but is there any state you were wanting to see in particular here, or maybe a state that, generally gives you the most headaches or kind of has been recently? California. I gotcha. Yep, definitely California. I'd say California, Colorado, and then maybe New York, kind of East Coast, Central, West Coast there. Three of the states I definitely hear the most common issues with. But yeah, California, we'll go ahead and do that. So first, as I mentioned, you obviously select your customer state here. Then you're going to select your dealership. For us, obviously, Title Tech, our dealership hypothetically is located in Florida. It's just the way it's set up in the system here. So for the demonstrations, it's always a Florida deal starting and going. So this is essentially going to be a Florida to California deal. Obviously, the important part being California, but I just like to reiterate that just to, avoid any confusion when it comes to the fees and taxes there. And after selecting your dealership, you'll go ahead and put in the deal number here. So this is where that, DMS integration is going to come into play. Obviously, maybe on the demonstration here, I don't have any, so it's going to say not found, but essentially just putting in the deal number here, it's just going to carry over all that customer information from Automate. So it'll just be one less thing you got to manually input, and should just be that much more efficient for you, right? But obviously, as I mentioned, I'm not going to have any here on the demo. Next, we'll put in the VIN of the vehicle. So I just have a VIN that I use all the time. I believe it's like a 2020 Tahoe. But as soon as you put in the VIN and load the vehicle, you see it's going to load the vehicle type for you. And then we're just going to select the purchase type. So I usually just do a finance deal just to show, in addition, the lien holder side of things. But if you were just wanting to see a cash or lease deal, I could certainly do that for you as well. But typically, I just like to do a finance deal. And then we'll select whether or not you'll be doing a plate transfer or not. That's really just for the sake of fees. It's not electronically going to do the plate transfer for you, but it is just for the sake of the fees and the fee calculation. You mostly do finance too. Gotcha. And then I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the plate transfer would be no here. Most people typically tell me no. I just see you typing, so I'll wait till I move, go on here. Don't do plates. Gotcha. Yeah, typically what I hear. So that's really all you'll put on the first page here. And again, that's just going to set up the whole rest of the deal here. Mainly, obviously the most important thing being the state the customer is going to be going into. Um, you do have the option to just do a fee calc only. Essentially, that's going to be the same thing, just with a few less tabs to input, right? It's only going to be the information you need for the fee calculation, but we'll obviously be going ahead and run the full deal. So click on full deal, and then right off the bat, something that I do think is pretty neat about our system here, where I've heard that this is something that other people tend to not get notified about these things, or I haven't really heard it in the other systems too much, but we'll let you know about state-specific notices. So obviously, the biggest thing in California is that smog inspection, right? They also have a transfer restriction notice in here as well. So when it comes to anything like VIN inspections, smog inspections, uh, you know, point 8-point inspection, and really anything that it comes to whatever that state is requiring the customer to do to register the vehicle there, we're going to let you know about it so you can reiterate it up to your customer up front. And this will be in the system here at least a couple of few times throughout the deal. So we'll let you know about these, state specific notices that your customer has to do. Again, at least a couple of few times it will pop up. But before we even get into the deal, I do like how it just lets you know about that right away, right? Knowing that you're dealing with California. Yeah, exactly. I like it too. I think it's very nice. So uh, that's obviously dependent on the state you pick, right? I've seen, I think New York even has 3 or 4 things in here. So yeah, kind of a neat deal there. But we'll go ahead and continue. And then here is where I like to point out that there's some previous deals you can see here. These are some previous deals I've been working on, aka just other demonstrations I've done, right? I'd just like to point out that you're able to go back, edit, and rerun the fee calculations and print the forms as many times as you would like. And you're only going to be charged that transactional fee once per deal number. So essentially just once per deal, right? For one customer there. Um, so it's per deal number. Just going over the pricing again, I know I had sent it over to you in email there, but just in case maybe you haven't looked over too much. So it's the monthly subscription of $135, right? And then it's $100 per transaction. And that transactional fee of $100 breaks down to the fee calculation, which is $35. And then to populate those forms on the back end there is going to be $65. So you get charged those both per deal there. And that's what this means, right? I could go back into a deal, load the deal, and even if I'd already, been charged the fee calculation as well as populating the forms for that deal, but I had to go back and edit something and redo that, I wouldn't be charged again for that. So it's only once per deal number for that transactional price. And you could always go back and rerun, the deal on either end there, and you won't be charged again. So I would just like to reiterate that and bring that up. I think it's kind of an important detail there. We'll obviously be creating a new deal here there, obviously, so you could just see it from the start. Oh, all right, give me 1 second here because I did hop in it pretty quickly. You just try this from the start here. Hmm. All right, give me 1 second, Cynthia. I'll just have I have a manager actually, Brittany here, hop on and maybe just try to run through hers because she could hop on here, just run a quick deal. Yeah, 1 second. All right, maybe
Okay.
it's working. Yep, there we go. Hit me whenever.
Hi. Sorry, guys. I was having some audio issues. Um, so I know that Chase wanted me to hop in and definitely wanted to see, if there were any questions that I could answer or, what we were trying to review.
No, no worries. I actually it's up and running now, but I was actually just thinking that I would need you, Brittany, to hop on and run a deal through yours. The website was just kind of giving me an issue there, but I just redid it there, re-signed in, so I think I will be good. But I just wanted to make sure, obviously. So let me just see if this will work this time. And Cynthia doesn't have a mic on her, or she's on mute, but she's been just messaging in the chat here. So
Sounds good. All right, I'll let you run through that real quick. And then if for some reason it gives you some trouble, I'll be running this alongside you. That way I can help out if needed.
cool, appreciate it. But yeah, here we go. It's looking all good here. So as I was mentioning, Cynthia, the last thing I think I said was just how you can go back into reload a deal, and you're only charged that transactional fee once per deal number, right? So that's just all I was trying to reiterate there. But here we go. Now it's finally going through. Sorry about that little delay.
I'm the magic touch, apparently. Sweet.
All right. So yeah, after going through that first page, picking the state, and then it's notifying us about those state-specific notices, then we kind of get into the meat of it here. So we'll go through our tabs, and then now going through all the information after putting it in, we'll do the fee calculation, and then right after that, it's printing the forms, right? So it is back to back with the two halves of the transactional fee there. So with the first tab here, the owner information, I like to point out first that obviously you can use this for individuals and their own cars, right? But you actually can use this for business to business sales as well. Not sure if that's something you guys do too much, but I just like to always point out it's something you could utilize it for as well there. So we'll just go through and put in some owner information here. Let me just grab a zip code for Albany, California. All right. And you can see here, with all the required information filled in on that tab, the red box is going to switch over to a green check mark there. So it's all good to go. Next, we have our vehicle information tab. So you can see right off the bat, just by putting that VIN number on the first page, it's really going to pull over all the information you need here. The only thing you'll have to just select is the vehicle status. So I know for you guys, you know, new or used, obviously, depending on the vehicle there. If it's used, you'll just have to put in the previous title state. That's something that's not really all too important for the deal to go through. I just let everybody know that, this is one piece of information here, probably the one detail here in the whole system that you could always come back to, and shouldn't have to worry about right off the bat needing this information immediately, because I know that's sometimes a little tricky to get, or it just isn't simply known right away. But yeah, that's all you really have to select there. Something else I like to do We'll go ahead and put in used just so I can put a little odometer reading in here. I like to do something like that just to show, everything you do put in on the front end of the system is going to populate in the back end there. So I just always like to say that you want to put in as much information on the front end as possible there, right? But yeah, after that, it's really all the info is already kind of pre-populated, filled in, again, just from that VIN number on the first page. So when we hit next, you'll see the same thing with that tab. It's all good to go there. Next, we have our trade-ins tab. So this is pretty straightforward. We allow you up to 4 trade-ins per customer. And the rare case that, they have many more than that. I can't say I've ever heard of that before, but rare case they have any more, you could, get in contact with us and we could mainly input more. But all in all, pretty straightforward page, right? Trade-in vehicle information and then trade-in lien holder information if necessary as well. And then we have our purchase information tab. So this is probably the most important one, or at least in terms of affecting the fee calculation, right? So I definitely like to spend a little bit of time on this. It's just important on this page you don't guess or estimate any of the charges. As I just mentioned, it's obviously going to directly affect the fee calculation. And then obviously going against my word there, I'm just going to be putting in random numbers here, or at least a 0, just because, like I said, it has to be a numerical value because it's going to be directly affecting the fee calculation there. So I will go ahead and just put in random numbers here, but obviously you want them to be very accurate when you're going through. Oops. And that was because I accidentally hit enter. So yeah, you can't hit enter when you're going through it for whatever reason. It usually is very easy to avoid too, but I accidentally just touched it there. All right, so back to this. All right. So yeah, this will affect the fee calculation directly. And then we do have a guarantee in our fee calculation. So we do guarantee our fees will be correct. If for some reason the state rejected the check and it was on us, we would reimburse your dealership for however much the amount was in error, right? So if we told you to send off too much or too little on however much it was, that was an error there. That's how much we'll reimburse the dealership for that deal. So we do have a guarantee when it comes to that fee calculation. Partially being the reason that it is, that $35 charge. So something I've had people ask me before, I'm not sure if this is something that you come across, Cynthia, but other dealers or title clerks or, whoever's handling titling, just in general, have told me that sometimes they have customers who want to get that fee calculation, but then in the back end aren't really all too serious or never really want to follow through with purchasing the vehicle. Some dealerships have mentioned that that's something they run into. So if that is something you experience, I would just recommend not giving them this fee calculation because this is going to be, again, as accurate as it can be. It is guaranteed, and we do update it every day with all 50 states. So if you do come across that, I just always tell my customers or people that are, wanting to get set up here, but that's one of their hesitations is that fee calculation charge. I would just recommend if you do have a customer like that, is giving them just an estimate, not using this to get the fee calculation, but quite literally just giving them a pretty vague estimate there, because until they're pretty serious or you're positive that they are, seriously looking into purchasing the vehicle, I wouldn't think you want to give them a, exact fee calculation anyway. So that's just something I've heard brought up quite a lot is people ask if there's any way to, avoid the fee calculation charge just because they are finding that they do the fee calculation for a lot of customers who end up not, going through and purchasing the vehicle. So that's what I would recommend for something like that, if that's something you come across. Because again, we do have the guarantee on this. So this is really just for, a customer that you're pretty confident is going to be moving forward and, needs that exact fee calculation, not just an estimate. So I always just like to say that. We'll put in a sales price here. 20,000. It's a used car, maybe 15,000. 17. I selected the dealership is shipping the vehicle or not. Again, this is all not literally doing the shipping for you, but it's just for the sake of the fees. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, yeah, if you don't have any, just being that this is like a calculator, right, affecting the fee calculation exactly. If you don't have any fee to input in the field, you just got to make sure to put in at least a 0 like I did, because it does work like a calculator, so it does need a numerical value. But this NAT processing fee is what I really wanted to spend a minute on here as well. So this is where you'll be able to charge the customer back, which I'd mentioned to you, Cynthia, that that's kind of where the system pays for itself here, is charging that customer back every deal, because you will be sending off this, all the paperwork, titling, registration paperwork completed for them, and you'll send it directly to the DMV or private tag agencies. We also give you the option for that in every state. But regardless, if you're going private tag agency or DMV, you're sending it already completed, right, to wherever it needs to go to. So the customer won't have to do anything else besides, maybe sign some papers, but that's really it. So we like to say that if somebody was doing that for me, I'd be more than happy to pay a little extra fee for that. So that's where this comes into play, the NAT processing fee, essentially what you're charging your customer for doing this for them. And it could be any way you want to run the business there. I mean, you could put in nothing, you could put in a 0 and not charge them back anything. You could charge just the monthly subscription. So just make the monthly subscription you're paying for NAT here off that one deal, or, just get the transactional fee back. So how much you paid to get the fee calculation and populate these forms. For the specific customer, you could just make that money right back if you would like. But most of our customers that are using this system, we see them charging their customers back anywhere from about 150 to even upwards of 250 per deal there. And then in that case, or even have seen 200 as well, but somewhere in that range is where our customers are typically putting in that amount here. And in that case, by just the second or third deal of the month there, you've actually already made the money back on the system, and then everything after that is really just straight profit for the dealership. So, given how many you're doing, again, about 60 a month, I remember. So, it's however you want to run the business there, but this is really kind of where um, the neat thing comes into play here. That's really where the system pays for itself there, and a lot of people are very comfortable using it in that sense. So you're able to do this quickly for your customers and make sure that everything's right and good to go, never having, paperwork sent back. And at the end of the day, you can, make some extra money on it as well. So kind of helps everybody out there. But again, yeah, we'll see our customers put it anywhere from about 150 to even upwards about 250 per deal there. And you can see the purchase info tab's good to go. Next, we have our lien holder information. So this is, again, pretty straightforward. It's just going to be where you input the lien holder, and you make sure if you're going to input a lien holder code, that, you just verify with them and check, because I believe it can be different or vary state to state sometimes. I just have Westlake because that's just one I've used a lot. So it just populates there for me. And one thing I also did want to mention when it comes to the lien holder or finance deals specifically here, and incorporating the lien holder, just by filling this out, and then you'll see on the forms on the back end there, with the actual, state specific forms you're going to send off when it comes to the title application and the lien holder section in there. Just by filling out the paperwork that we have in there, you'll satisfy everything with the bank that this lien should be perfected immediately upon submitting the forms to the DMV or tag agency, right? As soon as they do receive the paperwork, that lien should be perfected immediately. So you shouldn't have to ever worry about banks or lien holders trying to get in contact with you. So that's one thing I always like to mention as well. And then the last one here before we get into the fee calculation and then populating the forms is going to be the registration information. So just making sure this matches up with, what we put with our owner's information here. So Alameda County. Albany. And 476. And then it's also asking in the city limit or not. So this is something that your customer really should just know the answer to if they live within the city limit or not. But even if they don't, it's really just a simple Google search of their address there to see if that is considered in the city limit or not. Insurance information. This you can see it's not required to submit the deal, but this is also something that would carry over from your DMS, right? Some of your customer info that would just come from Automate. This is something I don't see on every state here. So something specific to California, they just select whether you request paper title or not. But then here's kind of the point I was leading up to. So I think this is always really cool. As I mentioned, right, we'll be able to, we do partner with private tag agencies in every state. So we give you the option to use that as well. If you do select private tag agency, it's going to give you at least a couple options, but they typically will come with a fee attached to them as well. But of course, you can just use the DMV location, and just by the address or address information we have in for our owner here, by selecting choose DMV location, it's just going to automatically populate the closest DMV to your customer. So I've always thought that was pretty cool too. Just by having the address information for your customer already in here, you just click that once and it's gonna populate the closest DMV to them, right? So I always thought that was pretty cool. And then that is really it in terms of all the meat of the information we're putting in. So next we'll calculate the fees and we'll get our line by line breakdown of our official fee calculation. You can see the button's blue, so that kind of signifies that you're going to be charged by doing that. So by clicking this button as well, we'll be charged that $35 for the fee calculation. And I just use it as a quick stopping point if you had any questions before we do that. Alrighty. So we'll go ahead and calculate the fees. And again, here's where you'll be charged that $35, the first half of the transactional fee. All right, and then now we have our line by line breakdown for our fee calculation. Two main things to pay attention to are going to be, obviously the total taxable amount to the state, California here, and then the total amount to collect from your customer, which is going to be down here. And again, this is essentially a Florida to California deal just because our title tech dealership hypothetically is in Florida. So again, just to avoid any confusion there. But here's where the total amount to collect from the customer will be. You see our NAT processing fee in there with the 200 as part of that. But outside of that, right, the line by line breakdown here. So I know you're probably pretty familiar with California, it sounds like. They definitely have a lot of fees. So that's really what that looks like. And, if you are familiar, you could probably check to see if those are accurate. But we do have the guarantee, so it always will be accurate. And if there is any issue, again, we would always reimburse you for however much an error we provided you with there. And then again, as I mentioned, those notices here it added in the VIN inspection, but you can see that smog inspection, late title, those same state-specific notices that were at the very beginning. As I mentioned, they'll pop up at least a couple times as you go through here, so you can always reiterate them up front to your customer. Good. I'm great to hear that. I'm glad you think it's very neat. Yeah, I was going to say, if you had any questions on this, it really is back to back, right? So immediately after the fee calculation, we populate the forms right after. So you get charged that second half of the transactional fee next. And if there are any other questions, I'll go ahead and calculate the forms here. So I always think this is pretty cool. You'll see just by clicking that, in the matter of just a few seconds here, it'll have the PDF, full PDF pulled up of all the forms. That's very easy to just print off. So, and there we go. Yeah, just in a few seconds there, we get the forms populated. So you see it's just 16-page PDF, very easy, just printable to print it off here. But as we go through here, obviously this is going to be, obviously the most important part here. So as we go through here, there are some things we add in here at Title Tech. So first off, I just like to go over this first, the title application checklist, just a highly effective way to prevent any delays. Everything in red here is going to be common mistakes that the DMV in that state, so here for California, obviously, It's going to be the most common mistakes that those DMVs are observing people make. That's making paperwork being kicked back, right? So actually for California, and this does update, really on a daily basis. So I've done a California deal before where I've actually seen more than just this red. I've seen a little more throughout it here, but essentially everything in red you see on this page is going to be, like I said, straight from the people that work at the DMVs in that state. What they're reporting is the most common issues they're seeing. So at this moment, if they've been completed in California, the smog inspection must be completed as well. I'm sure that's something that's probably always been reported from California, knowing the smog inspection is so important. So, but you can actually use this as a literal checklist too. Go through here and check them off, right, when things are done or completed. But this is something that we just add in for you at the beginning. Just again, really highly effective way to prevent any delays there. And here we have our payment information, or really our DMV mailing instructions. So we give you the DMV address or the private tag agency address, as well as provide you with the shipping options. So we'll do everything for you besides actually shipping it off for you, right? So we'll provide you with the mailing instructions, DMV address. This is a spot where you put a contact for your dealership for the DMV, just in case they need to get in contact with you. But obviously the point of this is that, you can get it done quickly and get it done right. So you shouldn't have any issues with your paperwork, but this is just in case, right, for the DMV to have a contact for the dealership. But here's the DMV address, license plate destination form. So here you'll just select whether you would like the license plate, to be sent directly to the customer, or if you'd like it to come to the dealership. And from there, you would just add the name, address, phone number, and then select your shipping options. So we'll provide you with all of that. Next, after that, it's really just going to be probably what you're familiar with here, California state-specific forms. So first, we got our title app. And then in here, and I'll look for it for a second, where the lien holder information would be in there. Here we go. Yeah, so the section 3 here, just by filling out this is what's going to have that lien perfected by submitting the paperwork there. So, any finance deal you do, as soon as you submit off the paperwork to the DMV, as soon as they receive it there, that lien should be perfected, and it's not something you should ever have to worry about again. But yeah, aside from that, just going through here, I'll try to scroll a little slowly. Okay, yep, the one other detail I wanted to point out, I knew California had them. Anywhere where a wet signature is required, we're going to let you know about that by putting a big yellow highlighted box there. So pretty hard to miss, right? So anywhere a wet signature is required, we're going to let you know. I know California had at least one or a couple in there. So there's definitely some states where I've seen there's none required, but anywhere you're needing the wet signature from the customer, we will let you know about that, obviously, here. And then here's another page that we add in, just called the NAT deal summary. And you can see we do let you know to please submit along with the rest of the paperwork. So this is really, as it sounds, deal summary here, just a one-page condensed view of all the information. So you can kind of go over everything to make sure everything's looking accurate. And obviously more of it would be filled out, but I'm going through it quick here, right? Power of attorney form, more wet signatures required from the customer. Another power of attorney form, wet signatures. Another one there. Okay, yep. So California did have quite a few. I thought so. Verification of vehicle. And this is specific to the smog inspection here. And then another wet signature here in the last form. So yeah, there's definitely a few of them in there. But yeah, just going through, I'm just curious to hear from you. What do you personally think just seeing these forms populate here? When it comes to California, is this everything that you would think could possibly be in here? This is everything that you know of when it comes to a California deal? Right. Yeah, I like how it pre-fills things for each state as well. So that's really the essence of our system, just very state specific, right? So whatever state you're selecting in the beginning there on that first page, it's really going to tailor the rest of the system there to that state, and it does so very well with each page here. Even when it comes to the fee calculation and what the fees and taxes are, what's taxable in that state. I've never really heard of us ever having issues there, right? We do have the guarantee, so I've never heard of any issues with any customers finding things to be accurate on that end, or when it comes to these forms at the end here, right? And I do like how we provide you with the shipping options, the address for the DMV, right? If you're using the private tag agency, um, and let you know to put that in as well. But if obviously just the DMV, then it's just going to say the DMV. And then all you will have to do is, like I mentioned, print these forms off, and then just physically ship them. We just won't ship them for you, but we provide you with the address and the shipping options. So yeah, I mean that again, that's really the end of it, Cynthia. So that obviously took a little longer than it should have. I apologize for the little technical difficulty in the middle of it there. But then just generally, I was going through it pretty slow there to just point out details for you. So especially with the automate integration, going through an out-of-state deal here should probably take you no longer than just a couple or few minutes, really. Um, Especially when you kind of get the hang of it, start using it more, with that integration, and then just how familiar you are with that estate, how consistently you're doing it there as it is. You can really run through this pretty quickly here. Yep, exactly. Yeah, the biggest thing is obviously, I mean, when it comes to out of state, right? The biggest headaches I always hear from title clerks is obviously the time it takes out of your day. I can only imagine how long it takes you sometimes, Cynthia, if you're doing, about 60 a month there. So that's obviously the biggest thing. And then paperwork being sent back, right? So you want it to be done quickly. You want it to not take up too much of your day, and then you obviously don't want to worry about things being inaccurate or paperwork being sent back. So that's really the two things we just try to really hone in on with this system. But yeah, that is really the end. So I hope you're happy with, everything that was demonstrated today. Did I cover everything you were hoping to see, or is there anything else when it, comes to out of state that you were kind of hoping this would do for you? Perfect, perfect. Alrighty. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, that's really the end of it there. I know obviously you're going to want to bring this to, your management or just your direct boss or whoever that may be. But um, just in terms of your personal preference, would you see yourself benefiting from this current process, or would you see um, the dealership benefiting from using this in your dealership there? All right, perfect, perfect. Yeah, well, I'd love to hear it, Cynthia. I guess just to confirm, I mean, I figured, like I said, right, that you would have to bring it up to somebody there. But how likely, just from your preference, would you think it would be to move forward with this nationwide software? Okay. Yeah, no, I completely understand. I know it's not your decision at the end of the day, but no, I loved hearing the feedback there. Sounds like you really liked what you saw. So I'll go ahead and here, I'll stop sharing my screen now, and then I'll end the record for you. Stop the recording there.